Guys, welcome back to the Memorial Cancer Awareness build for Maria Torres of the Revell Corvette C7R race car, done in a tribute racing livery for Maria Torres. Let's take a look at our progress so far. Okay, guys, we have the body now in paint. This color is Tamiya pink primer, which is like the perfect shade for the breast cancer awareness month that we're in now, and it just lays perfectly smooth. I mean, this is straight from the can with no wet sanding. It's about 4 coats of primer, and it just lays beautiful. I can't say enough things about how good Tamiya paints and primers are from the can. And no matter how much I enjoy airbrushing, I am pretty much always going to be using Tamiya paints from a can. I know it is a bit more wasteful than airbrushing, but you get such great results in a quarter of the time, and for me, it's just worth it. So we have the entire body painted in its primary color, as this is going to be a custom livery for the race team of Dragonfly Racing, which runs C7R Corvettes. And the reason we're calling it Dragonfly Racing is Mrs. Onyx Models explained to me that Maria Torres had a connection to dragonflies, and every time Mrs. Onyx Models sees a dragonfly, she says it reminds her of her aunt. So we're making a custom paint job along with custom decals to represent the dragonfly connection to Maria Torres. Now, this is the basis of our decals. This is a dragonfly designed by Mrs. Onyx Models for one of her paintings, and I thought that it would be perfect for this project, as it would represent her aunt and basically the racing livery of the Dragonfly Racing team. This is a great little design she came up with as she's doing her painting and her projects, and I really liked it. I loved all the colors, and thought that it would just be a great idea to put this on the car. So this is, as soon as I get the colors all laid out on the car and get all the painting done on the body, that's where I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put this and how it's going to lay. So that's going to be a little bit down the line. So now what we have here is the body is a beautifully molded piece. I mean, the details are crisp and clean. The only thing I had to do to the body was I just deepened the panel lines a little bit more, just to give a little more separation to them. You don't really have to, but for me it just looks a little bit better that way. And when you're installing the doors, the thickness of the door panel is a little bit too wide, so the doors don't sit totally flush with the body. So what I did was I ground down the plastic a little bit, and that allowed the doors to sit a little more flush as I ground down the plastic inside the door and on the body itself. So that allowed it to sit a little more flush with the body so they don't stick out as far. I probably could have done a little bit more, but I'm in a little time crunch as I'm really trying to get this project finished this month. And if you guys have followed my builds, you know my projects take a while because I'm constantly changing things. So I got this pretty close, and it does look good altogether. They don't stick out too much, so it's not really that noticeable, so I can live with that. Now what I did do was I opened up the brake vents as I showed in the previous video, and that's about as far as I'm going with modifying the body, as I was going to open up all the vents here and I was going to open up the front here, but with the time crunch, I'm not really going to have a chance to do all of that. especially if I want to work on custom design graphics and decals for this car. So we're going to leave that at that, and I'm definitely going to be getting another one of these kits. I really recommend you guys pick one up. I mean, it's really a simple kit, but it's so well made and so well molded that it's going to make a beautiful model. Alright, so now we covered the body, we covered the main color, the primary color. Now we're going to cover the secondary color. So it's Maria Torres passed of liver cancer. To represent her, we're going to add a green to the body. Now the green is going to be the nose, the rockers, the rear of the car. And then we're going to have, so that means the car will be representing both breast and liver cancer, and honoring anyone who's suffered from either one. Now I just had to pick a color, and that's where it got a little more complicated. Finding the right green, as I had already painted the wheels, which I'm going to show you now what I did with the wheels. When I decided on green, I decided I wanted a green chromed rims. Now this kit brings no chrome parts, so I pretty much had to make them myself. Now what I did for this was, the wheels start off white. I painted them with Tamiya semi-gloss black. Let me see if we can give you a better look at it. Painted them with Tamiya semi-gloss black. Then on top of that, well, first I added Tamiya light gray primer. Then Tamiya semi-gloss black. Then on top of that, I sprayed it with Tamiya polystyrene anodized aluminum, which is a beautiful metallic color. And I know it's for polystyrene. It's not really for our stuff. It's more for the RC car bodies. But I tried it once and I found that it works beautifully on our plastics as well. And it gives you a beautiful metallic color. If I can give you an example, the fuel injectors here, the fuel rail is done in the Tamiya anodized aluminum. And it really is a beautiful metallic color. When sprayed over black, it gives you a really good metallic look. So I sprayed that, and then on top of that, I sprayed with the airbrush the Tamiya clear green, and that pretty much gave me exactly what I have here. Our green chrome rims, which I think they look great. So after I had that color worked out and I had all the rims worked out, exactly how they were going to look, now I had to find a green for the body. So just got back from the hobby shop a little while ago, and I had two contenders. I had one from Testors and one from Tamiya. Tamiya metallic green, and Testors was their extreme wet look line of extreme lacquers green paint. So let me show you how they are. These are both sprayed over the paint primer, same as the car, and let me show you what they look like. Now both colors are nice, but in my opinion, the Tamiya is the runaway winner here. Now these are both sprayed right on there, no clear coat, nothing, just over the paint primer. And if you look at the metal flake, the Tamiya metal flake is so much smaller and so much more refined. It's just such a much smoother paint than the Testors. And even if you could look at the reflection of the lights in the paint, the Tamiya both are sprayed exactly the same under the same conditions in the same amount of time, and the Tamiya is just so much smoother than the Testors. And the metal flake in the Testors is, in my opinion, too large. So it would kind of throw off the scale of the car, while the Tamiya is a much smoother, more refined color. I mean, the Tamiya is beautiful. The Testors is nice, and I will be using that color on a future build. But for this build, the Tamiya is a clear winner. And these are both from a spray can. But I'm thinking that the Tamiya is definitely the way to go. And when paired with the rims, it's a pretty good pairing. Let's just look at the Tester with the rims. Which, like I said, the Teslas are still good, but the Tamiya is definitely, in my opinion, the clear winner here. Just a slightly different shade than the rims, but not that different that it draws your attention away from everything else. It's just going to be a really good look, I think, for the vehicle. Okay, so we covered the wheels, we covered the body. Let's take a look at the engine. Just needs to have one valve cover installed, but here we have the completed engine, and it's a shame that you won't see most of this once the car is completed, because it really is a great casting. I mean, the details are sharp. The valve covers with the Corvette lettering. The engine is painted in a base of Tamiya semi-gloss black. And then over that, I painted the Tamiya titanium silver. Well, I mean, in the last video, I went over the entire paint process of the engine, so I won't go over that here again. I just picked out the details in Tamiya titanium gold. And the anodized aluminum for the fuel rail. And it really is a good looking engine. It's almost a shame to put it in the car where 90% of it will not be seen again. And here you can see the final result of the shading work that I explained in the last video, so that it makes it look as if the light is really not hitting where it shouldn't be, and really adds scale to the project. Now, the only thing I'm not happy with this engine is that, if you can see here, the metal axle passes through the front of the block for the wheels, which we'll cover that in a minute when we take a look at the chassis, as they decided to really simplify things, and I'm not really thrilled with that, but once it's in the car, you really won't see it anyway, because you'll barely be able to see the engine. So I can overlook that for now. Alright, let's take a look at the chassis now. Okay, here we have the completed chassis, and the chassis is basically just one flat black pan with small indents here to represent the air intakes and, the ducting for the car. But that's about it. It's got small little rivets engraved into it, but there's really nothing else there. So let's take a look at the upper side, where we can see where we've attached the control arms and the brake rotors, as it's just basically that's it. Brake rotors and calipers and control arms attached to this one bracket here that just holds it all together. And it's as simple as it gets. Now there's going to be a metal axle that runs through it to hold the wheels, but there's really nothing else in the way of detail, chassis, suspension wise, transmission, anything. It's kind of disappointing, but the kit is so good in so many other areas that you can work with it. You can overlook that. So here we have the brakes are done in Tamiya titanium silver, with Tamiya bright red for the calipers. And it's a really nice looking setup when you can... Let me just put a wheel in it so you guys can get an idea of what we'll be looking at with the wheel on. Look at that. Now that looks fantastic. Once the body is on, you won't even be able to tell that there's nothing else in there. And the brake rotors really look good. I did the rotors with let me just pull this out of there. I darkened in the rotors with Tamiya panel line paint to give them a nice used look, and everything just seems to look really nice under there. The control arms are painted with the Revell Aqua Colors flat aluminum, which I really like these paints as they cover very well. They're a little thick, But they cover very well and they paint very easily. I mean, it's really easy to apply them. So there we go. That is the chassis. Now the last thing to look at is the interior tub, done in NATO black. I really like this black as it's going to give a little more visual interest when everything's together here. More than just a regular black. It's gonna be a nice little look. As you look in the engine compartment, you're gonna see the paneling here is gonna be a little bit different than what's underneath. What little you'll be able to see. And I'm happy with this color as opposed to just making everything just a regular black. Just a little variation in tones. There's going to be a lot of detail painting, a lot of engraving in here, a lot of items, an opportunity to detail. Alright guys, well that is where we're at so far with this build. Now it's time to do some masking and paint the green on the body. And that'll be for the next update. So remember, just like, subscribe, keep up with the build. You can follow along and see how it turns out for our... See if I make it before the end of the month to the Memorial Cancer Awareness build in honor of Maria Torres. Alright guys, I'll see you on the next one.